What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Technician Podcast. Today, I've got my friend Sheridan Austin with me. Now, she is a qualified holistic nutritionist, a certified gut and psychology syndrome practitioner. Now, basically, she uses food as medicine to support health and vitality. She's also a speaker, nutrition consultant, recipe creator, and a writer, and also the creator and owner of the most in-demand supplement in Australia right now, Foraged for You Mother's Blend. You know, that stuff is insane. So welcome, my friend.
Thank you for having me. It's very fun. It's nice to finally have a conversation.
Yeah, well, it's been in the works for a little bit now, right? But it was always going to work out at the right time. So I'm glad you've had plenty of coffee this morning and you're feeling good.
It wasn't my choice. It was forced.
Yes, of course. Yes, it always is. Did you hear about recently, there was a little experiment one of Joe Rogan's guests did that he went off it for 3 months, right? Now, he's a scientist, so he really wanted to see what was going to happen during this. He said his first one back after those 3 months was psychedelic.
Wow, how strong was his coffee?
Yeah. I'll have 6 shots, please. I don't know, but I'm assuming that experience for him made him realize, like, holy crap, this stuff is powerful. So being used the right way, right?
I know. And that's the thing. Like, that's why I'm so religious about the type and how it's had.
Quality as well would be a thing.
Oh, quality, yes. So mycotoxin free, organic. Do you know what mycotoxin free means?
I don't. Let's talk into that a little bit. Yeah.
No, it's actually a very good topic right now because I've had a lot of experience with mycotoxins. But I don't know if this is fully like going on a tangent.
No, this is great. We can start straight off like this because we'll get into your story and everything. But I figured we'll open up nice and hard.
Yeah, let's start with the morning brew, shall we?
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah.
So mycotoxin free means mold free. So classic coffee is actually quite moldy. So mold produces mycotoxins. So it's a yeast and it's one of the toxins it produces. So if, in the world we kind of live in now, we are exposed always to mycotoxins, but it's how your body can detoxify from it or how much mycotoxin you might have in your system at the time. So if you've been exposed a lot to mold, then you'll be more affected or impacted. So personally, because I know that coffee can be moldy, I opt for the mycotoxin free. So that is obviously my home brew. But if I'm out, I don't go ask the cafe.
Can you hold the mycotoxin, please?
Yeah. Because that'll be a bit much because, I already do ghee in there. So for those that don't know what ghee is, it's butter with the whey, casein and lactose removed and you're left with the fat component only. So that's what ghee is and it's beautiful. It's got its own beneficial properties, but also MCT in there. So medium chain triglyceride, that is. So great for the brain and also antifungal in itself. And then... so if I'm to ask a cafe, hey, can I please get the ghee and the MCT and the mycotoxin free and the ashwagandha and the lion's mane and the reishi?
Give us an hour, we'll be back. Sorry, love.
So anyway, but the reason why mycotoxins is a hot topic in my life, it's actually quite secret, to be honest. Not really. I just haven't talked about it. But I'm actually living all over the place right now because we've escaped a very moldy home. So there was a secret leak. Secret link. I'm like used to saying that or something. A secret leak that we didn't know about. And so now it's being renovated. So all the floors being completely ripped up. And so our experience in the home was... I've always been aware that house has to have some mold issues, but it really was obvious. And now it's all been ripped up. It's like literally all at the bottom of under the floor. So it was very hidden.
Wow.
But the impact on your health basically that has is huge.
Just mold in itself.
Mold in itself, yeah. So black mold in particular. But do you know much about like mold toxicity?
I actually had a little bit of a listen to, I think it was your podcast with Cal and Jakey, and they talked about it a little bit. And I started to look at my air cons and stuff. And my mate's, obviously, he does repairs and maintenance for air conditioners, and he's always posting sponsored ads about you should get it clean. And I've never really thought about it much, and I was like, who cares, like whatever. Now I'm like, oh shit, okay, this stuff can really affect you in so many ways, even like sleep quality and stuff like that.
Totally. Sleep quality, mental health. It can get to the point of like serious gut issues. So if you've got like reoccurring gut issues that you just like can't pinpoint, or you feel like you're doing everything that you can, skin issues. So like rashes is huge.
Wow.
And that's when it's really systemic, and that's what I had in this house. So I knew what was happening, but it was out of my control because like we obviously needed somewhere to live at that time. And yeah, so like I had rashes I'd never experienced, like literally in my life. And they actually flared up when I started a particular probiotic too. So it's like there was this argument between the mycotoxins or the mold and the yeast and the probiotics, like trying.
Like this war going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Hey, the other really interesting thing was my husband. He has always been severely allergic to paracetamol. So what grows paracetamol or penicillin, sorry, which is in paracetamol. So penicillin is a type of mold, right? So in this process of living there, we knew there was some mold, but we didn't know the severity of it.
Yep.
So we had a guy come out because we needed to have proof for the insurance company, you know, how much we needed to get other accommodation. So whilst the insurance company were kind of taking it seriously, we were like, no, this is every day we're suffering with this. So we need to get out like immediately. And yeah, so there was a couple of episodes in this 6-month period where my husband actually had a couple of vomiting episodes. And so this is his reaction to when he has penicillin. So if he had any Panadol growing up, he would get severe vomiting where it would be down to the point of vomiting up bile. Like literally his body was just trying to get rid of every ounce of him.
Wow. And
it was really actually like there was one episode where I was like it's quite scary to watch. Like I was like, shit, you're like really unwell. Like I don't even know like if you're okay.
is he normally like sweet? Like he's like super healthy. You always see him as like the carer, the giver, the powerful man. And it's like he's on his knees because of this toxin.
Yeah, well, at that point, we actually didn't realize. We had suspicions it was the mold. We were like, we think it's that, but like we can't be because mold is one of those things where it's so not black and white. Well, it's literally black, but like, you know, it's not calculated.
Yep.
You're not like this is causing that. It's very like you have to investigate into it to know, and it's very speculating.
Yep.
But it's still very, very serious, and it can create all sorts of health problems, and it's different within each person. But when we got this mold guy out, so he tested the air quality, the strain that came back that was in the air was the strain that produces penicillin. How crazy is that?
Of course.
So his body was coming up to these, like, it was like a threshold where his liver and his gut and his systemic system cannot handle any more. So it would get to like 10 or 11 at night and his body would like vomit for, you know, hours and hours and hours and not be able to stop until everything's out of his system. And then he would be able to handle it again, and then it would come up to a threshold and then vomit again. How crazy is that?
How did you guys deal with this? Like, how were you mentally during this? Because that would have been something really heavy to deal with. Was it by yourself? Like, were you talking about this to your friends and stuff?
So it's actually my parents' house, and so we are staying there or with them whilst we build our house. Right. So, and the house is like, as with everyone at the moment, it's just taking so long. Of course, yeah. So we're in this state of, oh my gosh, like what do we do? It's out of our control completely, you know, and it's no one's fault. It's just the situation right now. Yeah. So, yeah, we were all speaking about it within each other, but of course, like Sean and I guess are aware of mold toxicity and we both feel it differently. And I think in that generation, the older generation as well, it's not really knowing the severity of it.
It's like, oh, this is normal life.
Yeah, mold schmold.
Yeah.
Like it's, you know, you just wipe it off or you put a bit of bleach on it and it'll be fine.
I just vomited blood. Oh, well, a bit weird. Like, let's move on.
Yeah, but then in the meanwhile, complaining of like memory loss, you know, really foggy mind.
Ooh.
severe fatigue, body aches and pain, hay fever, asthma symptoms, like,
Of course.
yeah, like, so but again, it's not that calculated, you know, you don't get a punch in the arm and get a bruise. Like, you're not like, oh yeah, that's from that.
This is more of a, holy shit, where'd that punch come from? There was like a ninja somewhere. Let's figure it out. Let's find him. So that would be tough, because I think you've just nailed something there where I think modern day society, they have all these like reoccurring like symptoms of things, right? And they're like, it's fine. I'll just take some pills here. I'll take this drug, whatever. It's like masking it with a Band-Aid without actually getting to the core of it.
We'll take an anti-inflammatory. We'll take an antihistamine. We'll take some antibiotics. We'll take whatever. Antidepressants, did I say that?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest one, I remember Potsy talking about when he had severe acne and he was taking Roaccutane.
Oh, I actually didn't know he had Roaccutane.
Yes, and then I've had a few people recently be like, I've had really bad like skin and stuff like that. I started taking this and I was like, really? Yeah. That's what they prescribed to you? They didn't want to say, let's sort out your gut. Let's get deeper.
Yeah, the pill or, Roaccutane.
That's been a big talk lately, the pill, hey? There's been a lot of people coming off it recently, and they're discovering how much it's obviously altered their body over the years of taking it and how much it's ruined them in some ways.
Yeah, it's really intense. I'm so lucky I like learned these things when I'd still been on it for like 6 or 7 years at that point. But when I started to delve into my health a bit more, it was like, well, I have to tick every box. And that's the thing. It's so holistic, isn't it? Like everything is so holistic. And that's why it's hard for someone entering this realm. It can be very overwhelming because it's like, oh my God, do I focus on the medication I'm taking? Do I take the food that I'm having? My emotional health? Like, what traumas do I have? Like,
there's a lot, isn't there? Now that you've just said that, it's literally just like multifaceted.
Yeah. And then the physical, like, corrective culture, like, the movement of your body. Like like
you have an imbalance in your left toe, but it's actually your lower back that's like fucked.
Exactly.
What?
Like my eye's twitching, but it has to do with my pointer finger.
Of course, yeah. I actually find that really interesting with the boys. And then I started to learn so much about my body when I had certain things going on. I was like, well, it's probably not actually that. There's probably something else that's linked to that. And then also realizing also that pains in my gut, etc., could be also an emotional thing. Yeah. As I started to get into the spiritual woo-woo, as they would call it, learning about chakras and spiritual sides of things, but I started to heal myself because I learned about those things. So what we'll do though, guys, so we don't go on too much of a tangent, we will take it back to where, because this all started somewhere. There was one day where Sheridan was like, holy fuck, I want to help people with their nutrition, or yourself first, and probably had that realization that, holy crap, I feel so good, I want others to feel the same. Exactly. I'm assuming that's how it went.
Yeah, so I don't need to actually tell my story now.
Done. And we'll move on. How old were you when you really started to dive into it?
I was probably about 19, 20,
okay.
20-ish.
How old are you now?
I'm 30.
No, I'm 32. I just
recently turned 30, so I'm still
that's right. Congrats.
The process of realizing that I'm 30. Gosh, that's crazy. When I was in school, I had no idea what I wanted to do as a career.
As most people don't.
No. But I took off to live in Wales for a year, so I was having one of those gap years, So at that point, I was actually enrolled to come back into psychology. So I knew I wanted to work with people, help people in some way. Psychology, don't really know why, but that's what I was enrolled in. Took off, had a really good year, fun, I wish I could go back to that year, actually. It was just so much fun. However, towards the end of the year, I was coming back to Sean, who's my husband now, and I had put on weight, and like to others it might be like obviously not huge amounts, but to me I noticed
it's the first time in your life you've looked in the mirror and be like, hold on a second,
like
where did that come from?
I actually think about this now. And then so I started to do the classic stuff of gravitating towards salads or thinking about food for the first time. Eating less and calories.
Oh no.
So that's like the first thought, right? To take away fats. So I obviously don't do that now. We know that I have ghee in my coffee, which is like the most calorie dense food on the planet. But
you're probably eating the most fats and proteins you ever have, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but at that time it was, just looking at the food that I was eating for the first time. And then I enrolled into nutrition. So I, was brought into that world. And then thankfully I was like picked up and saved by a woman, Cindy O'Meara.
Shout out Cindy.
Yeah, from Changing Habits, and I worked there for 6 years. So what I was learning at university, we would often like talk about it in our when I'd go to work. I'd be like, oh my gosh, the dietitian that was teaching me this that I was frustrated about was drinking a Diet Coke at the same time, and is severely overweight. So it was just so frustrating. So I actually stopped at nutrition. I didn't further my degree to dietetics purely because I didn't want to be under a body where I was being controlled of what I teach or had to practice in hospitals. No way could I do that, within myself. So, and I could jump straight into a consulting work practice, So I was too excited. I wanted to get out there, So I started to work with clients, and in this period of learning that what we're taught by media and big government bodies, starting to question everything. So that was the biggest thing. And what's interesting is with the last 2 years, just seeing people only now starting to go to question things. And it's really
been beautiful to watch, hey?
It's stunning to watch, to finally go, I actually need to question things. And I think I've dealt mentally better with this process of questioning things because I've been questioning it for years. I've known not to trust absolutely everyone. You have to look deeper. You have to,
of course, not being emotionally attached to the story, because there's emotional stories, there's factual stories, and that's on both sides. That can come from the left and the right. There's always, because if you're emotionally attached to something and you're charged by it, you're going to speak very passionately about it without actually realizing, oh, that video has no context. Let's dive deeper into what actually happened 10 minutes before that. That kind of stuff. So I'm very much about questioning everything too. But I started to realize that, okay, maybe we need to go deeper on some of these things. Yeah. So I hear you on that.
Yeah, totally. So the questioning, if there's 3 things that a generic Joe on the street needs to start doing.
Generic Joe. That's amazing.
Needs to start doing differently is questioning, right? That would be definitely a top 3 thing, is just going, what you're telling me, is that actually right for me? Does my intuition tell it's right? Does the facts tell it's right? Is there a traditional culture things behind that? It's just everything, just question. But anyway, so I realized when I was going through this period of my life of questioning and everything, I was sitting there in a seminar with a tissue in my hand because I always had tissues because I always had sinus problems. So sinus issues,
a lot of mucus build up.
Yeah, I was constantly having a runny nose, probably living in a moldy home, who knows. And then the speaker made me realize that I could actually live without symptoms. And then symptoms that are just a cue to look deeper, a cue to question.
Telling you something. Hey, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, knocking on the door, knocking on your brain saying, hello, I'm trying to tell you that, potentially something you're putting in your body is creating an inflammatory response, and it's just my communication with you. So I was like, wow, okay, cool. So, get on research. So I research. And what is so so this is, 10 years ago, but what is so popular today to know, about treating your gut problems and stuff. I went on this journey myself so long ago, and so I learned a lot in that process for myself. And
personal,
yeah, and I still apply the same kind of principles to my clients. It's no different really. But obviously you learn better ways, faster ways, new products, blah, blah, blah. And so I treated my gut issues and I treated all my health issues, and it was so cool. So I went from a person that had skin issues, hormonal issues, crippling menstrual pain every month, to the point of wanting to vomit, severe fatigue, and antihistamines every day for hay fever, asthma puffers. I couldn't go for my diving license or training because I had too bad of asthma. I haven't suffered
Oh,
that.
that's sad.
Yeah, I know. I want to do it again. I want to get
You can now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, who knows? Like, I need to go and try.
Do like a breath test.
Will I die or not? Who knows? Let's find out.
Well, that's a great way to find out.
Yeah, because that was the thing. Like, my lung capacity was so bad that if I was to dive, like they say, like I could literally die because of the pressure. So, yeah, at that time, but who knows now, because I don't have asthma or severe chest infections constantly anymore. Anyway, so fast forward to now, like I literally just like don't have symptoms. When I have symptoms, I know what's going on. Like, I am not sleeping because I've got a baby addicted to breastfeeding still. Like, or, you know, my immune system is just faced with something and that's cool. It just needs to deal with it. That's great. But it's a period of time and you get over it. But yeah, or you just, you know, you're in a mouldy house, so you've got to do the things to rectify that. So
there's a couple of things in there because obviously I love going on tangents.
Yeah.
I love that. How have we gotten to a point where we just normalize all those things? You know, your asthma puffers and all these other things, antihistamines, whatever. It's like, okay, something's wrong with you here. Take this, 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 and this. Rather than saying, maybe there's something a little bit deeper, as you said, that we need to look at. So
years and years and years of conditioning, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So like coming back to like 50 years ago, I'd say like the industrial or chemical revolution, where even something like getting in the kitchen was too much time, like took too much time. So they went through the period of, no, guys, we don't have time. The kitchen is a bother. The women need to come into the workforce, so no one has time in the kitchen. So it was microwave meals, and then so little did they know in that process there was sneaky all these chemicals being added, etc. So that was the introduction of ingredients in our food, like made in labs, right?
Right.
But then with the masking of the symptoms, maybe it's all a part of the plan, like because obviously the pharmaceutical companies behind them, and I hate talking like this, so like open and like honest about it, but I'm not often. Usually I just beat around the bush. But
I love that you're doing it because I'm all about it.
But really, like it is like, you know, they medical professionals aren't taught that. They're literally just not taught. Like, if you feel like this, then maybe it could be this causing it. It's just like you need to have the antihistamine. You need to have that. So, and
well, let's cut your kidney out. Let's take this out. Let's destroy this. And it's like, hey, maybe we could try and there is a space for that system. I've been healed plenty of times. Like, they fixed my ACL, meniscus, all these things.
100%.
There are some beautiful people within that. But overall, as you're saying, I feel like it's this massive sick care system where it's like we want to be kept within that because there is so much money being held within that. If there's fast food, porn, all these other things, all these vices, alcohol, gambling, smoking, all these things, they all then send us to these other places. It's just this massive fucking circle of, let's make some money from these people. Let's not care about how their health is, because one of the things I noticed during this whole vid thing, did they ever shut down bottle shops or anything like that? Yeah. I'm pretty sure like hostels and that were still open, like for them to go and do their thing, like sex workers and stuff were still working.
It's so wrong.
It just made no sense. So that's when you question things.
Sense, yeah.
You know?
And incentives with like what fast food places.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like this, you'll get a free blah blah, like burger and chips or something like that if you go do that. Yeah,
and it's the microwave thing. I actually heard this episode one day with Joe Rogan, which I actually wrote in here because I thought you might find this really interesting. I'm assuming you know about phthalates, is it? The plastic toxicity?
Yeah. Starts with a P. It's really
PHT. So it's like, this Dr. Shana Swan did this. They did research in 2000s with rats, and they found that the rats that were contaminated with these plastic food that had the bits of plastics and stuff in them, the males were born different. Their testicles, their penis, everything was smaller. Their sperm count was way lower. So they measured the taint of the animals. That's how they've measured. That's how they tell the difference between male and female between most animals in the kingdom. So they measured the length of it, and you can tell whether it's going to be male or female. So what actually started happening as well, the taint started shortening with the males as well.
Wow.
So basically, overall, this plastic toxicity was decreasing your testosterone, your sperm count, your ability to be a man, essentially, or a male. So
which leads to mental health issues.
Of
it
course.
leads to physical issues, but
Reduced, people being able to have babies.
yeah,
That's getting
reduced
worse now.
fertility, yep.
Fertility's at like an all-time low with some. I've had so many friends that have gone through miscarriages and stuff.
Yeah, it's
Now,
so
I'm not saying
sad.
this is obviously because of the phthalates or whatever it's called, but there's so many things within our system.
Lots of contributing factors.
Of course,
yeah.
mould could be a thing, I'm assuming, that starts to come in. It seems to be the contributor for most things.
Well, the thing is with fertility is that your body wants to know that the environment is safe. So that's the biggest thing. So with a male and female, the outside environment is communicating with your inside to just let you know, hey, it's safe out here. You can reproduce.
Yep.
So, enough food, not as many chemicals, like not too stressful. So that's, it got to, and also, of course, nutrient deficiencies have a big thing. But of course, like I've got people where, there's a lot of stuff out of our control, which is so unfortunate. So it's just about doing
what you can control.
Yeah. And not freaking out too much about it, because like if there's someone listening, it's just about starting with one thing and then moving to the next. And
Of course.
Taking off those layers, what you mentally and physically can cope and deal with.
Well, that's actually a great segue into what are some foundational things that they can do to make sure that, getting through these day-to-day things. There's, for me, I've implemented fasting. Now, I know doesn't work for everyone and whatever. It's not seen as a thing by some people, but for me, I feel good.
Yeah.
If I don't eat until around about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm good. And I have that nice big feed of like avocado, sourdough, eggs, bit of bacon normally, and I feel incredible. And it works for me. So yes, it is finding out what works for you, but I know you've got some great tips on that sort of stuff too.
So let's talk about fasting though. So I love it too. But like you said, not for everyone. However, or like the season in their life, depends what's happening in their life and what their makeup is and what health issues they have, or whether they're pregnant or breastfeeding, etc. But the foundational thing is being inspired by our cultures and traditions, like our history, basically, what has been practiced for thousands of years.
Ancestral.
Yeah. Paleolithic, like those times. Like, so there's a Hadza tribe that still exists today. It's called the Hadza tribe. Really cool if you want to Google it one day.
I'll write that in the notes.
Yeah. Hadza.
Cool. Hadza tribe. Research.
Yeah. So they're, I'm pretty sure they're in Tanzania.
Okay.
Anyway, so they are a tribe that still exists today that aren't, I don't know obviously about this exact moment, but when I was looking into it, they weren't impacted by Western society at that point. They weren't impacted by our current modern systems and stuff like that. So they still live as we would have thousands of years ago. So it's being inspired by that and combining it with our modern world. Like that is where the basis of everything I do and what we as humans should do is combine our modern knowledge and our traditional knowledge.
Of course.
So like that comes down with everything. So connection with the soil. So for example, they spend 100% of their time outdoors because they sleep outdoors, like under their little shacks. Connection with the earth.
Grounding would be what it's called.
Yep.
To some people.
And if people think this is woo-woo, because I understand like when you first hear of these kind of things, you're just like, grounding.
What?
Taking your shoes
Excuse
off.
me? Yeah.
But it's actually science-backed. Like it's reduces your cortisol levels. It can reduce our inflammation just by literally connecting with the earth. We spend now at least 90% of our time indoors, and they spend 100% of their time
Fluorescent lighting.
Yeah, blue lights, etc. So, connection with that sun, connection with the moon, connection with seasonal eating, getting to know your food and how it actually should be prepared. So that's the other thing is when you dive into just being inspired by the traditional cultures, it is knowing that, okay, so yes, we have thousands of food available to us today. Like we've got a sunflower seed, pumpkin seed, we've got a quinoa, we've got a rice, we've got a wheat, we've got a,
Yeah.
But like when we say in the Hadza tribe, they only have like what's on their land, right? So they get to know each ingredient so well and how to prepare it. So this is like, for example, another ingredient, soy. So in Japan, they ferment it to eat it.
Right.
So because maybe it was a local food that they had around them that they got to know so well. So they know how it needs to be prepared and when it should be eaten, how it should be eaten. Whereas we love a bottle of soy milk. Like, let's just grab a soybean and slap it into some milk. Like, no, we need to ferment it in order to digest and utilize it and for it to not affect our gut and hormones. So I know this is like a long way to elaborate on.
No, this is awesome.
Connecting with our ancestral periods and like, being inspired by them. So that's like the food side of thing, right? Is preparation, what foods to consume, but also then you've got intuition, right? Like,
of course.
And I know it's hard to connect with your intuition when we are so influenced by media and friends, family. Everyone's bloody confused, and that's so fair. But shut up, everyone. Let's just like go back and be inspired by the history and the tradition and the culture, and then you'll find your stuff. So yes, in that process, you'll probably have a lot of gut things to work on because you've damaged it for a long time now, and you're freaking emotional because you haven't seen the sun in 16 years. Yeah.
There are some people literally that obviously cannot get into the sun, right? So, and I've found that that's been such a big change for me, especially like just knowing that, and I don't really use a lot of sunscreen or anything either, being able to understand that, naturally that we can get out there for say 20 minutes or so, just get your whole body, soak up some vitamin D, you're good to go. Yeah. For people that obviously might work in the office all day and stuff like that, what are some,
Yeah, okay. So let's think about culture and tradition. Hey. Like places like that are really, really cold, now I'm having a mental blank. Maybe it's the Mould. No, what are the cultures that you'll probably know? Inuits.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they eat. So in the wintertime, obviously it's freezing and they've got like every crevice of their body pretty much covered up, right? Mm-hmm. But what do they eat?
Lots of fats.
Lots of fats. And fats from animals that have...
Fat. Vitamin D.
Yeah. Seen the sun. So the fish in the ocean, whatever else they eat. So
of course, so they're absorbing all of that.
Yeah. So vitamin D is fat soluble. So that means you find it in fats.
Yep. And
if you're not eating enough fats, you're not getting enough vitamin D because it's fat soluble again. So, by the way, by being on a low fat diet, you can become deficient in vitamin A, D, E, and K, which are fat-soluble vitamins. So that can lead down a rabbit hole of a whole other host of issues. So if you think like, by being on a low-calorie, low-fat diet, I'm losing weight, but you're actually creating a lot of health issues in the meantime.
Of course. I've seen a lot of hair loss in a lot of women when they're going to those, because there's a lot of competition girls, right? So they'll get into the IFBB or whatever it might be. Super low calorie. They're on like 1,000 calories a day, and they're really lean meats and your veggies and your salads, whatever. But in that process, as you just said, the fats are like nothing. Yeah. Because they think, I can't have this because I need to just lose fat, so I don't want to eat fat. Yeah. And then in the process, like you just said, creating so many other health issues. So you start to see those things.
Adrenal issues, like stress, hormonal issues, because hormones love fats as well.
There's women that can lose their period and stuff as well, right, during that? Well,
think back to what we were talking about in the beginning with the fertility. It's letting the body know that it's not safe out here right now. It's not safe. I'm not eating enough and I'm not having enough fat.
There's not much food out there. There's not many animals getting around.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Ooh. Yeah. Why would you want a period, which means fertility, in that time? Yeah. But going back to what the Inuits yep. So when they think about cod liver oil is a nice, beautiful source of vitamin D if it's obviously being wild caught. So the fish has seen the sun. The other, so that by us eating that gives us a dietary source of vitamin D.
Yep.
the other source is pork fat. So, which is really cool. It's quite a rich source of vitamin D. So, obviously, a pig that has been brought up in a factory and not really seen the sun and just being fed heaps of grains, so they put on heaps of fat, that's not going to be that rich in vitamin D because that hasn't seen the sun. So, we want to obviously get pasture-raised pork, eat the crackle and embrace the crackle. I remember the distinct moment, exactly where I was sitting and how I was feeling when I had these moments of realizing that we should be eating fats and that they are very good for us. I literally roasted this big thing of pork crackle, which I still do. You buy the rind from the butcher and you just pop it in, crank your oven, cover it in some salt, and it's a great snack. I've been fed, I need to say, kombucha. So I needed to burp.
That's good. Let it out.
I was like, it's here.
It's right here.
I can't not. Do I swallow it?
You can try.
No, it's all right. It was sneaky. It's come out. Might have heard it. Rewind and see if you can hear it.
I didn't hear anything. You did well.
So... And I remember sitting there with this pork crackle and going to town. I could just literally eat the entire slab, and I could just, it was great.
Were you happy after it? Or were you like, what have I done?
No, so stoked.
That's good.
And that's intuition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know that it's, it's going to be good for you. And my body wanted it. Obviously, craving it like no tomorrow. So my body was topped up. And now, I still crave pork fat and everything like that, and fats in general. But it's not so much as what at that period, because I had been deprived of it, you know?
Course,
so now it's just again, that intuition of I feel like that right now. And but I probably wouldn't be able to sit down to a whole slab because my body has those.
I really want to do that now.
Oh my God, yeah. If you haven't done that before, with pork belly, all that kind of stuff is actually so good for you. But again, everything that we've learned, it's just the reversal of that.
And there was a big thing in there you said, which, a lot of people were like, I did have a question from someone when I was asking these questions that I wanted to ask you. So they were asking, what's the point of us buying organic? Why would we do that? And what's the difference between, your Coles and that sort of thing compared to, say, going to the farmers markets? And you just said that then, where it's look at the difference between the pigs.
The nutrient density.
Right?
Yeah.
A pig that's out having a sick time on a farm somewhere, getting heaps of sun, join it with the bros. Okay, obviously he is taken care of eventually, but... what's the difference going to be between those two animals? What's the difference between two humans that are two different lifestyles? Say I'm out jogging every day, I'm in the gym, I'm in the sun, going to the beach, I'm grounding, I'm meditating, doing all these things, compared to, what do you call them, General Joe, whatever.
Yeah.
They're going to be completely different going to office, eating fast food, not drinking the right water or not enough water, not getting good sleep.
They're nutrient deficient.
Right. So what's the difference there? You're going to, if you eat that animal compared to this animal, the nutrients you're taking compared to this animal, that's the difference, right?
Huge, yeah. But also the other flip side is, and I understand that some people can't get all organic, which it's just about doing within your environment.
You can,
yeah, and financially. However, if you do have that choice, you're with the vegetable side of things and fruits and stuff, you are also swaying away from glyphosate. So do you know much about glyphosate? That's a big
one, yeah.
Yeah, so glyphosate, it's literally linked hugely to cancer. So hugely. I'm trying to think what is lymphoma. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on it. But there's lots
through the neck, throat cancer and that sort of stuff.
I can't. I'm not going to quote it.
Yeah.
Because sugar. Sorry. We'll have to look out for it because there's lots of court cases, lawsuits going against using the ingredient glyphosate in our foods, because it's cancer causing. But not only that, it's very disruptive to the gut. So its job is to halt the production of microbes, right? It's a herbicide, so it's going to kill not only their bugs but also lymphoma. Yeah, non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Yeah.
Yeah, I just got Jamie to pull that up. I'm my own Jamie. Joe Rogan's little guy that he's got like, hey, Jamie, just pull that up. And I'll do it myself. I don't care. Yeah, right. That's intense.
That's amazing.
And this is only recent, right? Like, what's that, 2015?
Yeah, so, I mean, like, obviously, glyphosate's been around for a very, very long time. But
like Roundup and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is, you choose to opt into a human experiment or you choose not to opt into a human experiment.
Listen to that one, guys, and listen to that again.
Yeah, so that's with everything that we bring out these days, and like maybe so that's the organic side of things. Like we're when we're choosing to eat not organic, we're choosing to eat, or conventional, we're choosing to eat glyphosate. And so as we know, it's 100% a it causes cancer.
Cancer causing, yeah.
And also
carcinogenic.
Yeah, and also the impact on our gut and our mental health as well. So obviously that is long term, but we know the gut has such a huge impact on our brain and the production of those neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine and melatonin, noradrenaline, adrenaline. So we want to nurture our gut as much as possible. And everything that we do when we are inspired by our culture and tradition it comes down to also nurturing our gut.
So on that's a great point, because I had a good mate, had him on the podcast actually, and his mum went through some pretty traumatic things, right? It's with his brother, her son. And they were all sitting in the room one day and she was at the back in the kitchen. She decided to pour the boiling kettle all over herself because of what was happening with the family. So her mental health was just done, right? So this is the moment where he was like, okay, I need to help mum. I need to get her some help. He took her to some retreat. I think it's up here on the sunny coast where it's like 50K or something for the week, right? Wow. First thing they said, like, what's she been eating? And he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I brought her here to help you with mental health. And he's like, we are. 10 days go by, right? She walks out fine. They changed. And I'm not saying, obviously, guys, I'm not saying, you can go in and sort your gut health and you'll be fine. This was for this situation, but that just shows that, there's a massive link between gut health and mental health. And coming from me personally, this last couple of years since meeting Potsy and understanding that all these different ways of eating and questioning things, understanding that good butter is a big difference between fucking seed oils and these other shit they've created. And yet we still get told that margarine and etc. is better for us. And it's like, no, just get some stick butter, grass grazed or whatever. And my mental health is better than ever. I'm not saying it's just that in itself. There are other things such as meditation, breath work, journaling. Segue moment. I got a little present for you. Hey, Stillness Everyday Journal.
Oh wow, it's so heavy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So unexpected.
So I spoke to Soph and Rod from the Pottery Studio, and they said they did talk to you about it recently, and obviously it just didn't get to happen. But as soon as they saw you coming on,
message trying to get me to come here.
Yeah, exactly right.
Terrible.
So, but obviously they were like,
how cool is this?
Yeah, it is amazing.
That's so beautiful and it's so good. So that opens a meditation?
So I'll give you a little affirmation if you scan that QR code.
Cool. Wow.
Weekly affirmations.
Oh, wow. That's so amazing.
And it's obviously super simple to follow. It gives you all the prompts to do. I've been using it for a couple of weeks now and it just starts my day really well. So, we figured thanks from the Pottery Studio and Stillness Everyday Journal from Rod and Soph.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. But I figured
this is so cool.
That would be a really cool segue because, again, all these foundational things, you know, meditation for me is a huge one. How cool is the colour? Oh,
my God. It's so stunning. Like, well done, guys.
You're just going to carry that around now, hey?
It's so weighty. It's so beautiful. It's like a Bible.
I was going to say, they've put some effort into it. I think this is a quality thing, right? You know when there's quality in something.
Yeah.
So the difference, and that's why I brought...
So stunning.
Like, as soon as these guys were like, hey, we'll be a sponsor, I was like, hell yes.
Oh, that's so lovely.
You know, the Pottery Studio, no one would ever understand that pottery in itself is a form of stillness. It's a form of meditation.
I did their
Slow it down.
Yeah, I did their little course thing, or not course, sorry, like a workshop with them a while ago.
Yeah, okay.
Where it was like, you get a bit of clay and just create whatever you want. And oh my God, I struggled. Right? And then that was like a moment of, wow, I need to be still way more often.
Yes.
Because, I think just in my life. So we haven't really talked about the Mother's Blend or anything yet, but
I was just about to segue into it because I'm assuming your life is craziness right now, especially since that was created.
yeah, totally. So, well, it's interesting. Like, I guess you go through, like everyone goes through different phases, but the creation of it was hectic because I honestly felt like possessed when I was creating it because I felt like this little thing came through me and it was like, do this and only this and this is it. Like when I would think about it, I would get full body goosebumps, like hot, fiery belly.
Yep.
You know, like this is like I have so much drive. Like I've never experienced drive like that before. So that was, of course, busy, but really positive, good, busy. A lot of things that like came in the way of me stepping the next step forward. However, it was just working through that and allowing the universe to help me out there. But also meditation really helped in that period because I was meditating a lot because I'm really jumping all over the shop.
This is good. I love this.
I'm like just thinking on the audience's perspective, like not knowing anything, you know, like should I just quickly say what the Mother's Blend is?
I think so because as much as it's the most sought after thing in Australia, like I feel like you're going to have, you know, in movies you see like those bank cars getting robbed by people. I feel like the transport that's taking your shit to the shops is going to start getting robbed.
Like, not
well, someone robbed the truck.
No. Well, we actually...
Give me all the forage for you.
We've lost like over 100 pouches recently. Yeah, in the transport. But obviously that's not... But I'm like, is this Australia Post?
It's black
really
market something. They're like stealing it and reselling it for double the price.
Probably.
Holy crap.
No, it was Australia Post, like our postal service. We've literally lost over 100. So we've had to like resend all these people. So it's like a lot.
Lost. It's being sent to
it's so bizarre.
this one address somewhere.
Yeah, we don't know where it is.
Wow.
It's so bizarre. But anyway, so the Mother's Blend is a blend of certified organic ingredients so when coming back to experiments on humans, trusting nature a bit more than these new things that we're developing. So when I spontaneously was gifted with the pregnancy of Malachi, because it wasn't planned, I didn't feel comfortable having like this product, you know, prenatals that are full of synthetic nutrients, and just going, cool, that's what I do now. But it's like, no, hang on, where does the choline come from? Where does the folic acid or folate come from? Like, what are these things? And why would they work better in my body than a food? Yeah. So intuitively, I just did not feel comfortable having this product, even though like the people that I look up to would just be like, hey, yeah, just have that and you'll be fine, you know? It's like, hello, what about like the food sources of these things? So I must admit I did like, you know, take them for like literally like probably 4 times, like the prenatal, because I thought it was the right thing to do. But it was like, no, I just didn't feel right about it. I just didn't want to. So what I tried to do was get kelp, and P.S. this is not just for pregnancy. It's not just for people that want to have babies or have had babies. It's literally every Tom, Dick and Harry and General Joe on the street has it. You know, older men, older women, younger kids, like everyone's having it now. But for me at the time, the development was obviously the passion that came through me with being pregnant and being intuitive and wanting to get my nutrients from food. So I was like trying to get the iodine from kelp in my food, have liver regularly, have greens regularly. What else is there? Like the iron, obviously, in the liver, the probiotics, because I've got a fermented blend in there. Yeah, so it was too much. Like, it was like, oh, I've got to get my camo from here, which is $97, and then I've got to get the liver, which is $50, and then I've got to get this and this and this and this and this. And it was just like, it's just, you know, and also coming down to the amounts of those things. Like, how much kelp do I actually need in order to get the amount of iodine I need?
Of course,
you know? So that led me to just creating this all-in-one type thing. But what it means is nourishing, yes, a pregnant woman, but also nourishing a pregnant woman just means eating nourishing foods, right? And lots of them. So that's what it is. And so it's got liver, kelp, beetroot in there for not only folate but also blood flow to help with lowering blood pressure. But also it's really cool. There's a study actually around COVID and nitrates from beetroot. So using beetroot for COVID recovery, for helping clear infection in the lungs, which is pretty cool due to the nitrates in beetroot.
Interesting.
Yeah, really cool. But anyway, so so many different reasons, but I really crave it and love it. I should have brought you some. I'm so sorry, but actually it's sold out.
You haven't got any right now. I'd love to give you some, but I'm not due for 6 months. Like, actually, how does that go? Because I know, being such a beautiful human being that you are, does that affect you when people are like reaching out like, hey, when's this coming? Why can't I get any? Like,
absolutely.
Does that affect you mentally?
Interesting. I haven't actually thought about how it would affect me without even knowing that it's affecting me. Do you know what I mean?
I think so. I think there'd be some sort of deeper, when you can't control that, like you're doing the best you can with what you've got.
Yeah. So, absolutely. Like currently our emails are just full of like, okay, so when is my order coming? Which is so fair.
Of course, yeah.
But some people obviously don't read as well. It's like coming here, it says it. But, this has become essential medicine for people. So when these orders, for example, were lost in the mail, that we still don't know where they are, we've resent them now. But like from our own cost, like we're losing a lot by doing that. But people were filing these things with Australia Post saying like, this is my essential medicine. Yeah, I was getting messages from people being like them screenshotting what they're saying. Like they're like, no, because it actually is. It's my essential medicine. So yeah, like they're missing out on that, and like I know like lots of people do want it. But yeah, it's just keeping up with it. People are like, why don't you order more? And it's like, we are. It's just like...
Thanks, I didn't think of that.
Yeah. But it's so cool because we also have like so many people in the US getting it now. Like, heaps. In Sweden, there's like countries in Africa that are getting it. Senegal.
And it's made in Australia?
Made in Australia, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Ingredients though, like are everywhere. So
yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
sourcing from different places.
Yeah, exactly. For example, camu, that's a fruit in Peru. So we have to obviously get the organic fruit from Peru. And like kelp, for example, mainly comes from Canada. That's where like the good kelp is. Yep. So when people are like, oh my God, freak out that it's not all Australian, it's like, look, Australia's not that great. Like
you're going to the source of the good stuff to bring it in. Like that's a lot of extra effort even in yourself to make sure they're getting the best of everything. Yeah,
very fussy with the ingredients. So that's cool. That's really important.
Is that why sometimes it might take longer to get a certain amount here?
Absolutely.
Because it's not even you being able to say, have your own friggin' factory that's like, it's not going to change anything.
No, yeah. We will eventually do that. Like that's like something we really want to aim towards.
Yeah.
But even still, like, we do need to make sure that we can get enough kelp and the beetroot juice powder, that make sure it hasn't got the anti-caking agents in there. Because organic beetroot, for example, can have anti-caking agents in it, but it's like, don't want that. But anyway.
So there's a lot to go into it.
Yeah. So what were we talking about? Like, why did I have to explain? It was about the creation of it.
Yeah, I think it was when you were struggling with your pregnancy with
wanting
was it
to
Malachi?
Rely on food. Yeah.
Yeah.
Malachi, yeah. Yep. So
beautiful kid, by the way. Both of them are.
Yeah. Wild but so cute.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just didn't feel comfortable having those synthetic nutrients. So because it is a human experiment, right? Like, okay, so 30-ish years ago, I think it was like literally the year I was born, 1992, they made this general rule of every woman should have folic acid. So folic acid, we know now, that form, so folic acid is the synthetic form of folate. So folate's in food, like beetroots and liver and greens and stuff like that. So folic acid is what they developed, and fast forward to now, there's a lot of research. We know that that can cause some more harm than good, and create almost the opposite effect of what you're trying to prevent, like neural tube defects, which is like tongue-tied and things like that. And so, okay, so we learned that in 30 years after its development. What are we going to learn 30 years from now? You know, why not trust the ingredients that have been around for thousands and thousands of years? Because that's been tested and trialed and implemented up until now. So that I just prefer not to play with it. And that comes back to the organic, glyphosate. Like, it's just whether you're opting in or opting out, basically.
And it's really cool that you've taken these things and understood how much it helps you and then given it to other people.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
It's really interesting. Like, when I was developing it, I just like kind of knew, oh, well, my body needs this because I'm pregnant and my baby needs this. But for the average Joe,
General Joe,
who has not been having those foods or has not yet felt the impact of what topping up your nutrients feels like, they're like, whoa, like,
oh, some things just hit different. Like I know beef liver, when Potsy told me about it, and I started getting some desiccated beef liver from Perfect Supplements. They were really good pills, like because the taste and stuff of liver wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
I could still eat it. I don't really care about that stuff, but my body and my nutrition and just everything, my mind, everything, just from that one supplement started to change things.
Exactly.
So for yours to have all those different ones in that one go-to would change people's lives, which is incredible. We actually had some interesting questions come through, which I'd like to we'll just go through and see how you go answering them. This was an interesting one. Best tips to protect yourself or rid yourself of parasites.
Okay. Oh, this is not quick.
Yeah, no.
No, but it's okay. Best tip. Yeah.
Is there some things that they can do to start to really just, I guess, heal the illness? Yeah.
All right. So, all right. So parasites are there for a reason. Yeah. So it's okay. Think about it like this. And let's refer to parasites, bacteria, yeast, viruses. So they go there for a reason, right? So it's like us going to a good or bad cafe. So we're going to go to, well, me personally, I'm going to go to a good cafe and get some good food, right?
The good place.
Yeah, exactly. So those parasites or bacteria or microbe is entering your gut because something is there that it's liking. It wants to be nourished with it. And so that might be like a diet heavy in processed foods. Sugar is a biggie. So the first step definitely would be to take away sugars and carbohydrates as much as you can, but try and do it. So that would be like a general first step, but you may need to venture down the process of an actual like period of time where you try really not to have any at all, have some antimicrobial herbs. But the big thing that I think is often missed is biofilm. So biofilm is what protects bacteria, parasites, and yeasts from your immune system, from herbs, from nutrients. So that needs to be broken down in order to actually get to it. So you might do like an antimicrobial protocol or something, but if you haven't broken down that biofilm, those things are going to rear its head again.
Right.
Yeah. So there's things called biofilm disruptors. But even something like apple cider vinegar and an empty stomach can be a natural biofilm disruptor. But sometimes people need a little bit more, which enzymes can help. Or the latest and greatest, N-acetylcysteine, NAC. Have you heard of that?
No, but I'll write that down because there'll be some things here that I can put into the show notes and stuff that people can look at.
Yeah, so NAC can be a little bit of a biofilm disruptor. But it's the reason why there's a lot of talk about it currently is because it's really good for getting over COVID.
Okay.
So, like getting your healing overcome a little bit better.
Yep.
Getting through it. So, anyway, so yeah, that's often really important. So diet and obviously antimicrobial herbs. You might want to get your poop tested.
Yep.
So like comprehensive digestive stool analysis, that's what it's called, CDSA. And so that can help give you a reflection of what's going on in your gut, what probiotics you might need, what antifungals, if there's anything more specific that you might need.
That's a great one, actually. I think people don't realize that if they literally just check their poo to see where their health's at.
Yeah, totally.
That's a great indicator, right?
Yeah, absolutely. However, sometimes if I get a client that's like having like not that great food, they're not really seeing much sun, their nutrients are really low, I'm going to work on those sorts of things first before going down the avenue of a stool test. Because stool tests cost money firstly, but also sometimes their issues may be rectified. But if they're not, then obviously we need to go down that avenue. The other thing is if it gets really serious, if you're doing all these things and you're like, oh my God, I'm still at my wit's end, think about mold as well. That's really
That's
important.
the big one.
Yeah, it's biggie. But also think about your function of your gallbladder and your liver. So, for example, a gallbladder flash. And if someone wants to look it up, gallbladder flash, Helen Patterin, that's a really awesome, thing to consider as well for your gut function. It's a little bit intense and not for breakfast.
Don't get a gallbladder flush for your breakfast.
Not for those that are pregnant and breastfeeding.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it's, a different kind of avenue to think about. So, but in simple cases, just remember those parasites, those microbes are there for a reason. So why are they there? So eliminate the things that they might be like snacking on.
Which is, part of Jake and Cal's parasite cleanse. I've seen so many people that have done it and look incredible, feel incredible by starving potentially those bad ones that are in there.
Exactly. Yeah. The starvation of those is really important.
So there was another one which I think we sort of touched on with, gaps and to heal histamine, allergy and gut issues and that sort of thing, which, we did touch on, but if you've got any more to add to that, that'd be amazing as well.
Yeah, I guess it's a similar thing to what I just spoke about.
It should be able to cover that.
Yeah, but I guess with histamine, like parasites can produce a lot of histamine, but also prevent the detoxification from those. So yeah, working on that gut, like you've obviously got a histamine intolerance or not overgrowth, but increase in histamine within your body for a reason.
Yeah.
But something that a particular nutrient that can help the kombucha's going to make me burp again.
You've done well. That was like 40 minutes ago, the last one. You're good.
That can help lower histamine is quercetin. Yeah.
How do you spell that?
ERSETIN.
Cool. I'll chuck that in the show notes too,
You've
guys.
written like bubble gum or something.
Yeah, this looks right.
Querciplop.
Querciplim. Sweet.
But yeah, so that can help lower. Like that's a Band-Aid. That's a Band-Aid. So that's not going to fix the problem of why you have too much histamine. But it can help. Obviously, this is a problem someone could be suffering right now, and they just need something right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's also consider mold. But usually that can be a yeast issue too. So an overgrowth of yeast, so candida can be very
that's a huge one, hey.
Yeah,
Yep.
and parasites. So just really think about lowering the sugars, but also cultured wellness, who I talk about sometimes on my Instagram. They have histamine lowering probiotic foods. So they have a kefir, they have a coconut yogurt. So they have the microbes that help with lowering histamine. Mm-hmm. And they're low histamine in itself because, so it might be a good idea to get like a coconut water kefir from them and start lowering that.
Amazing. I won't go through all of them because there's a fair few sent through. There was one that I was like, that's kind of funny. Is Henga a real thing?
That's a really funny thing.
Is that like...
okay, so let's talk about it on like an actual serious
like
note,
scientific level, yeah.
Well, okay, so let's think about your blood sugar levels. So like if you really find that when you're really hungry, you get moody, frustrated, but also like shaky and lightheaded, and like sometimes people can get nauseous when they're really hungry. So of course they're not going to be happy. So that person might have like insulin resistance, which means they're eating too much sugar basically and not enough protein and fat. So I used to be that person where if I didn't eat enough, like I literally remember, it's disgusting, blast from the past, where I was so hungry, I hit the point of such low blood sugar levels because I obviously was not functioning right in my body, where I grabbed, remember summer rolls?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, grabbed one of those from the fridge where I was working, ran to the bathroom and shoved it in my because I was about to pass out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So it was like pale, weak,
And you're like shaky, hey?
clammy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so that was me then. But now I remember realizing the greatness of my journey where I was traveling and there was like no food in the airports and nothing good anywhere. So I didn't eat until like 2 p.m. And I was like, how great is it that I can last till 2 p.m. and be happy, Larry? Nothing's wrong. And that's because I had balanced my blood sugar levels. My body can use proteins and fats with more ease because you go through a whole different process. I don't have like the gut issues that are asking so much for sugar. So that was pretty cool.
So
yeah.
that is, on a level, that's hangriness. It is something that is going to affect you mentally because it's starting down here again.
Yeah.
Interesting. The other thing, obviously you've talked about all the superfoods and what we can go to, the foundation stuff. Is there some mentors that you can recommend that people should look into? Because I'm assuming you've learned some cool things from some people above.
Mentors. Oh, like as in like people to follow, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, definitely, you could start with Helen Patteran. Mm-hmm. You could start with Cindy O'Meara. You could start with Steph Lowe, the natural nutritionist. Mm-hmm. I did a podcast recently with her. That was about postnatal and like...
Oh, I think I listened to a bit of that. She was really good.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, she's got a great podcast. And they're probably my top 3, I would say.
Because that actually segues us nicely into the little tools, tips and tactics episode, or part of the episode, where if you can just give some quick fire things that have helped you, that anyone else can sort of get into and that'll help them in their lives. Yeah,
for sure. Okay, so obviously eating real food and just focusing on fats and proteins, not be scared of those, so lowering your sugars in that in that process. Mm-hmm. Knowing that it's not about deprivation. There's zero deprivation because a lot of people, when they're going through this change, it's like they can't really do it because they feel like they're going to be deprived of their yummy, delicious foods. So it's about not thinking in that way and instead going, I'm not deprived. I actually have so much selection. So focusing on what you can have rather than not what you can't.
Of course.
So that's why I love creating like sweet recipes and alternatives to things like chocolate mousse and hot chocolates and lemon curd and like yummy things. So that, and then topping up your nutrients obviously is biggie. So the Mother's Blend.
It's honestly
it's an easy way.
It's honestly, as much as if it's a self plug, that does not matter because from what I've heard, especially from Potsy and Nick, like it is incredible. Yeah. And there's been plenty of people say, and as Sheridan mentioned, guys, anyone can take this stuff. You don't have to be a mother or a mother to be. Yeah. Even myself, I would benefit massively from it.
Totally. So I'll hook you up when it's back.
Let's go.
But that's only because that's something I personally do every single day. Yep. You know, like it's like a hug to me. But also within this life that we're in, personally, I do love adaptogens as well. So like if someone is suffering, which a lot of people are, stress, anxiety, depression, I do love adaptogens too. So ashwagandha, for example, sometimes depending on how I feel, I go through phases and I will add a little bit of that in there. So in my little mixture.
Amazing. How are you doing, by the way?
I'm really good.
Yeah. You've been okay during this whole thing because obviously it has been quite stressful for a lot of people. And, you know, I know for myself, especially for someone that's in this space of helping others, I randomly had someone ask me a question the other day. It's like, bro, how are you? You know, you take so much time to help everyone else. I feel like you probably don't get that question. So this is where I ask, you know, what's been going on with you? Like, do you, as much as you say you're doing well, everything's sweet, has there been times that you've been tested and you've really struggled?
Yeah, it depends on the day, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, being human, like we go through different phases. Isn't it funny? Like you'll cry, you'll be anxious, overwhelmed, but then like you'll feel those emotions and then you'll let go of them.
You work through them.
You've felt them or you've let go of them. So, I mean, like during the period of where a lot of people were getting the vaccines, getting COVID, all the different phases, I'm asked a lot. Like everyone wants to know what I should take, what I should do, like what are your thoughts on this? So it can be emotionally or energetically very taxing. So that's why I guess it's important to, have these tools in place to, know when your limit is. So that's why sometimes I am way worse with my phone, like in messaging back to people or whatever, because it really depends at the moment where you do need to step back, because we all need to, because we've never had this thing where we've got like 7,000 different avenues of contacting someone. But yeah, because like especially at the phase of life I'm in, like Xander, my over 1-year-old, has been feeding through the night for literally over a year. So that in itself, like sometimes coming back going, okay, what's the most important thing right now? It's my health and it's the babies.
Of course.
So sometimes you do need to just like focus on that only, and that can be so much.
100%. And especially when you're going through this mold stuff recently, like that's a lot in itself. We've got things within our circle that are always going to help, affect us as well. Like I know me personally, I had some stuff pop up recently, especially going through a breakup in December till now, beautiful human that, it was an amicable breakup, it was just different people, different journeys. But again, like you just said, I felt it. I felt all of it. I didn't hold anything back. If I was going to cry, I cried, speaking into it. I'm almost on the edge of crying right now because it brings up emotions that are evolved with that. But I want people to realize that as much as people like ourselves that are in this space of helping others, we're going to have our days too. We're not superhuman. We're going to have people that are messaging us nonstop, and we might not get back to you for like a week. It's not because we don't like you or we don't want to help. We just need to protect ourselves too.
That's exactly right.
So I just wanted to make sure to see how you're doing, see how you've held up through all this, because I know it's a lot.
Yeah, no, thank you. Again, it's just those days, and I think just knowing that we can't have so many distractions as well. Like we're so used to or conditioned now to go like, I'm not feeling very great, and pick up your phone and then like be distracted.
Scrolling TikTok for like 3 or 4 hours, like I did Saturday night. Fuck.
So you're not actually like, feeling the things.
Just avoiding them, right?
Yeah, not avoiding them, sitting with them, talking about them, I find like the best thing ever.
Oh, massive.
It's
like
full therapy.
If there's anyone if there's one thing that I could say to anyone, if you're feeling some things,
just voice it.
My tech talks that I do, I've been called out before by people that are like, what are you doing? You're not even qualified, rah, rah, rah. I'm like, I'm holding space for people.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm giving them an actual ear that actually gives a fuck, because a lot of people don't. And I'll sit there and I'll help them through their things. If there's habits that pop up, if there's goals they want to achieve. Yeah. It's just giving a really safe space for them to speak into some stuff they're struggling with. And that, like you just said, if they can just speak it or even write it into a book or a letter, journaling, it makes it feel so much better.
So much better.
It can.
Yeah. One thing that also really helps me in times if I'm feeling like extra emotional or anxious or not sleeping properly, if I'm struggling to get to sleep, and is always telling my brain the opposite thing. So it is like affirmations.
Hypnotizing the subconscious.
It is like that, yeah. So this little book is I guess surrounding that as well. So for example, I will try and think of, okay, so why would I be triggered by this or feeling like this sort of emotion? Like to give an example, so I was like anxious years ago now. I went through a really anxious period, but also wasn't sleeping great, but I had a lot of workload. And so I was like, why is this making me anxious? And why is this making me feel really overwhelmed or emotional about this and preventing me sleeping? And then so I was like, okay, well, really, like I have been, when I was younger, told that I was blonde, ditzy, dead from the neck up, like, horrible things.
Who said that?
A teacher.
Wow.
Yeah. Put a bomb under my seat. Like, but I just, like, school's shit, really. Like,
agreed.
Really.
Agreed.
But anyway, so that was my conditioning. Like, I was told that, I as from a young age, I believed it. So when I was faced with things that, is like a higher workload or expectations or something like that, I found that a part of my healing was like, I am telling myself I am more than capable. Like, I am more than capable, I am more than capable. And I'd repeat it in my mind. And then, like, sometimes I'd be driving along, and if I feel like anxiousness, like this, I'm past this now. Like, I'm good with all that. But when I realized it, I told Sean, I was like, babe, I think maybe, like, you know, because I was younger, I was, you know, told this. And as I was telling him, like I just started bawling my eyes out. Bawling, like I was heaving, you know?
Yeah.
And then so that's when I was like, okay, no, I have to tell myself I'm more than capable. So yeah, sometimes I'd be driving along and I'd say it out loud, you know, repeat it in your head if you're trying to sleep and you're not really knowing what's bothering you, just that positive, that opposite belief, like that positive talk. So with anything, like if you think you're like something's wrong with you, you tell yourself the opposite, no matter how much you don't believe it. And it's just that
You'll start to believe it eventually.
Yeah.
Those mirror affirmations are huge. I had a client recently that he's been told he's fat for the last 10 years of his life by all his mates and stuff, you know. It's the old like moniker of being in a male dominant friend group where it's like everyone takes the piss out of each other for being useless or broke or whatever it might be, right? And yeah, it's all in good fun, quotations with that. But your subconscious doesn't know the difference. So it hears all these words of like, you're a fat mess, you're useless, these things over and over and over again. Eventually you start to believe that. And he's gotten to a point where he's so anxious now, he didn't even want to go out surfing because he's worried what everyone thought, because all those words that were said to him manifested into a belief of fear of judgment from everyone. Didn't even like going to the shops because he was like worried what everyone thought.
It's so horrible.
So you don't think about it to that level. You know, you don't think about, as much as you're in those group of friends that like to go out in the piss and whatever, and yeah, that's fine, go have some fun, but think about what you're talking about during that time as well, and what's attached to that, you know, those addictive things that we do, which is like your gambling and your drinking and stuff, they can be fun. You know, your intentions are what sets that tone. So, but if you're going out just to mask things, like we've said, things that are said are then remembered by the subconscious at all times.
Absolutely. Like, so just for him, like, I am confident, I am perfect. Like, for a woman, I'm beautiful, I'm healthy. Yeah, I'm perfect. Like, gosh, yeah, I have so many clients as well that just, think so terribly of themselves. They're like, I put on 300 grams yesterday.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding. Like,
really?
Yeah.
But is that because they're selves looking at the scales and saying that, or is it a partner or a friend that said, hey, you've put on a bit of weight lately?
Well, they think that about themselves. However, I'm sure it comes from
external
and that's what
sources.
I always talk about too. Yeah. So yeah, it's it can be pretty intense for some people. But yeah, I have to tell them over and over again, you need to change that self-talk. Like, and even though it's not nutrition related, they don't know how important that is until they're going to realize. Like,
well, that right there is, you just reminded me exactly what Potsy said to me one day, which was really cool. He goes, if you're looking at the $8 steak and the $15 steak, what's your worth? Which one are you going to buy? If you love yourself and you respect yourself, you're going to buy the better quality one, right? Yeah. So that's always stayed in my mind with all these decisions I make now, where it's like, yeah, I'm still struggling. I barely ever have money at the moment because I'm building my own thing. That's what comes with starting a business and getting by and all these sort of things. It's fine. I don't stress about it now because I'm like, this is part of it. I actually treat it like a game. I'm a massive gamer, so I'm like, I'm in survival mode. How do I buy food this week? You know, like, which, you know, it sounds sad, but I'm actually really enjoying the process. Because my goal is not the end goal. My goal is to enjoy the process.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Sean actually said yesterday, we went past this huge, big, beautiful house. And it was like, he was like, oh, that's great. But like, you wouldn't want to jump into that house and that be like your life. You want to know why it's good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to go through the shitty houses in order to get to this big house and actually appreciate it. Because how boring would it be to just have that all the time?
Of course. You just get it and you're like, oh, is this it?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and if you can attach your inner why, so mine would be freedom. Like, for me, my purpose right now is freedom and impact. So if I'm impacting the public in a positive way, I am being fulfilled. I'm not being fulfilled by a car I drive or jewelry I own or these things. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But I just know, even that post I put up last night about wanting to do a rewire, like a transformation of myself, lose a bit of weight, whatever. My why isn't attached to what I look like in the mirror and what I see. It's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about that. So my why is much greater.
Mm.
So that's, I thought I'd just speak into that real quickly because I feel like that's
amazing.
a pretty positive thing too.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to money as well, like it's really interesting, like forage for you, the Mother's Blend, that has never been about money for me, like ever. Like I had to have someone come into the business, they're not there anymore, but that was more money orientated because I was so disconnected or am so disconnected with money. Like I'm not in it for that, like at all.
Yeah.
But when I was developing it, it was really cool. Like I didn't have any money during that process at all either, but it was like getting my tax back. I'll put my tax towards that. And then it was like, okay, so this first batch, that means I can get the next little batch. Like, and it was just like growing and growing and growing.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah, it's just if you're doing something you're passionate about, then and like that lights you up, like that's right.
And I can tell this lights you up. You know, the way you speak into all these things we've spoken about today, which I'd love to finish on. You know, you're obviously on a really cool journey right now, dealing with mold and stuff.
I love my moldy journey.
What's 2022 for you? How does it look? You haven't really thought about this, have you?
Well, to be honest, I actually know. I want to work more, to be honest. I know that sounds really crazy, but like...
As it with like one-on-one clients and stuff? Or
no, there's just so many things like I want to do that I can't do because I've got 2 little babies. Yep. Which is fine. I love them and I love my time that's present with them, and I love actually being a mum because I know a lot of people in my space, they will have a nanny so they can do some things. What
is that thing?
Probably trying to get to the kombucha.
Oh, the booch.
Yeah. So like I actually really am at the point where I have like so much drive, but it's just like quite annoying because I can't do it. Yep. Can't create the content I want. Like, so I actually really want to work more, to be honest, but also get the balance right between stillness.
Oh, stillness every day, Journal. Shout out Pottery Studio.
And work, you know, like working to me is like really fulfilling. Like I love what I do. So it's like, it's that beautiful reward. But I also want to be present. So it's just creating that divide between the two. Family time, baby time, work time. Get that sorted. And get on top of the production of the Mother's Blend.
Yeah, because it is going off.
Yeah, but the other cool thing is I really am working towards is other types of blends, like ones more specific to men.
Hey.
Yeah, so maybe like the men's blend, don't know. But
that's cool.
Yeah,
okay.
So adding particular ingredients that will, you know, be more specific to men. But yeah, it's pretty scary avenue actually, because that means I need to go down the TGA, not scary, but just more annoying actually, to be honest. Like,
just
go
a
down
process.
the TGA route, because the ingredients I want to use are natural and from the earth, but they're not classed as food. Yeah, so annoying. Yeah. But anyway, so it's some things I want to do.
That's amazing. You've already helped so many people and obviously doing some beautiful things. I know you're going to have another massive year. Things are just going to go crazy. Was there anything you wanted to finish on before we clocked off? Because you've killed this. Done really well. Any shout outs to any local businesses or anything like that? Or any ones that you love, any people you love in this space that you're loving what they're doing?
Oh, I feel like I've like probably actually ticked most of them off.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Mentioned
you have said
so
a few during
many.
this. Yeah, it's been good.
Favourite little nooks and crannies businesses. So I don't know. One thing lately, I guess, like just knowing that being selfish is selfless.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like when you're selfish, you can give more. So be more selfish, because a lot of people just keep putting things off. And also what comes with that is think about, is this going to be day one or one day?
Ooh, mic drop. Just throw that thing off your head.
Yeah.
Please don't. Awesome. No, that's amazing. And thank you so much for giving us your time today. We somehow ended up doing an hour and 20 without even realizing.
That's perfect.
But that's good. You know,
Yeah.
that's usually where it sits around. But if anyone has any questions, obviously feel free to reach out to you on Instagram mainly.
Yep. Or email. Depends what the question is about.
What's the Instagram handle and what's the email?
Sheridan Joy Austin is my Instagram.
Cool.
The email that is more monitored would be hello@forageforyou.com.
Cool. Also, and I'll have all these in the show notes, guys. So hope you guys enjoyed that. I very much did.
Oh, good.
And I'm sure at some point we'll do another one down the track anyway.
Absolutely. We'll just have some.
Not booch, so you're not burping the whole time?
Yeah. Maybe we'll have coffee next time.
Yeah,
Maybe
cool.
a bit earlier.
So you're not on like 3 or 4 before it's like 2 o'clock? Sweet. Well, thank you very much. And thank you for listening, guys. Have a good one.